Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the WHOLESTIC Method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts, recording a new episode of Real Thoughts with Debbie Potts. And I apologize of that new echoey sound. We put wood floors in my office, and now I need to figure out how to make the sound better for podcasting because my new office looks amazing, and I have great windows to look outside and get distracted by the squirrels flying around the backyard, big trees, but the echoey wood sound is really loud in here, so sorry about that. Today's topic is Keto Mojo, how to test your ketones and your glucose with Keto Mojo. Now, part of my coaching program, where I'm running it all online starting in October, doing my 30-day fat loss transformation with the WHOLESTIC Method, where we work on not just your nutrition and exercise, but also your stress and your sleep, your mobility, movement, and digestion, gut health, hydration, and the eighth element is my favorite, play, happiness, and gratitude. So just being silly and letting loose. We're needing to do a little bit more play time and laugh a little bit more. Today's topic is about the nutrition part. And when I have my clients, and if you join my 30-day online program, I'll recommend that you order Keto Mojo, because that way we can test our glucose and our ketones to find out if we're eating the right ratio of carbs, fats, and protein, and what happens when we're fasting and what happens to us when we're exercising, so we know if we're doing the right thing for our body, because we are all different bodies, different lifestyles, different genetics, and some people can tolerate more carbohydrates than others. There's slow oxidizers, fast oxidizers. You look at your genetics on DNA Fit or another of those programs. We're all different. And I personally do best with more protein because it fills me up and makes me satisfied for hours, and high fat. So I've been experimenting, if you've been following my Low Carb Athlete Instagram, since I was 12 years old until now. I haven't eaten most meat. Kind of a bad childhood experience learning how hot dogs are made on TV one Saturday morning and looking at what I was eating on Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think it just disturbed me so much, it grossed me out. And so I haven't eaten red meat as burgers and steaks until recently. I don't know if it is the influence of hanging out with my new keto family from Jimmy Moore's low carb keto cruise, and then KetoCon. Most of us were all there afterwards. And so in 1 month period, I was surrounded by all these people just doing carnivore and really doing no vegetables or just a little bit. And I started being curious. And if you listen to all the other podcasts out there, Paul Saladino and even Brad Kearns was experimenting a little bit, and Mike Mutzel, and I know Ben Greenfield, everyone's talking about carnivore and keto carnivore. And my new friends from Keto Savage, and then Danny and his wife, they're doing the Fat Fueled Family. Everyone's really been experimenting with keto carnivore, and same with Stephanie Holbrook, who does keto endurance, and Dr. Barry and Dr. Nally and Dr. Westman, I wasn't sure, but Jimmy Moore. I mean, it's really interesting. But again, don't copy what other people do. Do it as a starting point and experiment and see how you feel. As a nutritional therapy practitioner, we work on getting the right macronutrients, carbs, fat, proteins, in balance for you that keeps you full and satisfied for hours. So when you do my 30-day program where I teach you how to get off the blood sugar roller coaster and the addiction to carbs, we work on going low carbohydrate, but also going high fat, healthy fats, not junk fats, and good quality proteins, of ideally grass-fed meat and free-range poultry and wild-caught fish. if you can afford it. I know it's more expensive, so some people say it's better than the alternative, but we don't want to get a bunch of bad antibiotics and toxins, bad bacteria in our body either. So what I do is teach people how to eat one meal a day, and then we do some bone broth and some liquids as needed, as we have the Keto Feast shake we've used in the past. But really, when I teach people to gradually work towards intermittent fasting, if you eat a late lunch, early dinner, it's very easy, surprisingly easy, to eat one big meal. Not a little diet plate, but eat so you're full, comfortably full and satisfied. I'm full now. I just ate 2 o'clock. It's finished eating, taking my time eating at 3 o'clock, and I'm done for the rest of the day. There's no way I want to eat, because I did have a hamburger and a half, grass-fed beef with goat cheese on top, and then I had the Primal Kitchen mayonnaise and some olives, and there was some bacon. If I wanted bacon, an avocado would have been really good. That is so filling. There's no way you want to eat again after that. So it's really getting the protein and fat that you have no appetite. You're done eating. So that's part of what I do in my online coaching program that starts October 1st, runs for 30 days. We do a weekly call, and I might do more than once a week, maybe 2 days a week, working on Zoom video conference call for accountability. And then one of those days I'll be doing PowerPoint presentation slides to give you a little education. And what we've done in the last few months, my 5-day fat loss jumpstart, the phase 1 of the 30 days, is just a call each week or every other day to answer your questions. So it's really coaching with me and having sometimes one-on-one calls if no one else joins the call. So it's really fun for me. I love helping people and interacting with people that listen to the podcast and online social media friends, that we really can work in a group but work individually. So Keto Mojo is a great tool for you to order, and I'll put the link in the show notes to help figure out how to measure your ketones and when. So when we want to measure, we'll talk about too. So on Keto Mojo's website, they've given me lots of great articles and resources that they're sponsoring my conference in October Ironman, and we're going to do more work together, because I think Keto Mojo is a great tool to implement in the fat adapted athlete training program, because fat adapted low carb athlete, we can probably eat a little more carbohydrates than other people if needed, because we're exercising a lot more sessions. So everyone's different. So when we talk about the ketone levels or your level of ketosis, you can learn a lot from the Art and Science for the Endurance Athlete, the Low Carb Living book by Dr. Stephen Finney and Jeff Volek. They're the guys that did most of the research early on about metabolic efficiency, fat adapted athlete, and burning ketones and fat for your fuel. So they suggest that nutritional ketosis begins at the molecular concentration levels of 0.5 millimoles per liter. So that means that the minute you cross this threshold of 0.5, you're in so-called ketosis. Now from there, there's nutritional ketosis. It's considered light, is 1.0 millimole, and then it becomes optimal 1.0 to 3.0 range. But some people can tolerate, if you have health issues, you may need to be at that health range of about 3.0 millimole. And those people that are just trying to burn fat and they're athletes and you don't have any chronic diseases, especially brain issues, epilepsy, Parkinson's, autism, I think it's okay to be around 0.5. Even Amy Berger in our recent podcast with her said, if you're showing 0.1, you're showing something. So it's still beneficial in showing that you're burning fat. So I'll put in the chart in the show notes, but moderate ketone level, nutritional ketosis begins at 0.5 millimoles, and post-exercise ketosis is about 3.0. Optimal therapeutic zone, they say, is 3.0 to 5.0. So those, again, have chronic disease, health issues that would benefit from the higher levels, 3.0 to 5. Now, if you've been fasting, that's part of my coaching program, is teaching people how to work towards intermittent fasting. And then towards the end of my 30 days, we're going to do a 24-hour fast, which is pretty easy if you stop eating at 3 o'clock like I did today, and then I don't eat until 3 o'clock the next day. Not that hard. Once you become fat adapted, so we have to so-called flip that switch before you start doing that, or else you may have low blood sugar if you're still having that glucose going up too high. So we want to work towards that. And that's what we do in my 30-day program. So I'm here coaching you each day to figure out what works for you. Again, if you listen to my recent podcast with Jimmy Moore, and if you download my free ebook on the website, chronic stress, you guys, you gotta listen to this. Chronic stress impacts the whole you, including your ability to burn fat and ketones. Every time you have a stress response, your body goes into emergency mode and slows energy down of your mitochondria, but also raises your blood sugar level to respond to that threat, that emergency, that saber-toothed lion, tiger, and bear that's going to chase you down if you don't hustle and move faster. So if you don't sprint away from that threat, you are going to be killed, right? So you're going to have to move fast. And having that quick burst of energy is coming from glucose. So if your life is a race and you're going from the time you get up in the morning, say 5 a.m., you don't stop until you hit the pillow at 10 p.m. at night, you're trashing your body. You're increasing your blood sugar. You are potentially becoming insulin resistant, as I did to my own self. If you read my book on Amazon, Life is Not a Race, you can learn all about what I was doing. Because I did the bulletproof coffee. I was doing fasting. I was doing the max aerobic function, the max heart rate training. I was doing everything I thought was right. But I was packing too much in every single day, sacrificing my sleep. I was busy, one thing after another, thinking I was superhuman, superhero, and invincible until 2013 when I cracked. There's only so long that you can sustain that lifestyle. You will feel amazing because your cortisol is slightly or more so elevated. So you have that feeling of a natural anti-inflammatory, you have that little adrenaline, you just feel like no one can stop you. That was me, 2012. Now it's 2019, and I'm finally focusing on sharing my journey with you and helping coaching people full-time as I close my fitness studio. Finally, that was part of my chronic stress, is running my own business. So now I'm running my own business online, doing what I love to do, is help you burn fat and ketones. Okay, so ketones and exercise. Now, if you read stuff online and the social media with Danny Vega and Jimmy Moore and all these different people have different opinions on ketones and exercise. Now, Amy Berger and I talked about this as well. So a lot of the information you read out there on ketones and how much fat, protein you need to be in ketosis varies. If you're exercising a lot, we may be able to tolerate higher level of carbohydrates and still show ketones on your Keto Mojo measurements. So, does exercise affect all ketone levels? What they say at Keto Mojo is yes, but it affects each person differently. As I keep saying, N equals 1. Still, generally speaking, anaerobic exercise, usually that HIIT training, yes, we do maybe once or twice a week. Hopefully you don't do it 5 days a week like most people tend to overtrain and under-recover. But this will decrease your circulating ketones, causing the blood glucose to slightly increase and causing the ketones to temporarily decrease. Now, with aerobic exercise, as we do in triathlon endurance training, we're training at a max aerobic function heart rate, hopefully staying where your metabolic crossover point, you're staying below that where you're metabolically efficient, burning the majority of your calories from fat. Now, this is where we might notice increase in circulating ketones because our body is fat adapted and we're getting the fat and ketones to keep us fueled. We're not dipping into our muscle glycogen that's stored in there. Keep in mind, we have about 2,000 calories of stored muscle glycogen, your glucose muscle fuel, and then our fat fuel could be 40,000 to 80,000 calories stored in your body. But the secret trick that we're trying to teach you all here is how do you dip into those fat stores for your fuel and preserve the carbohydrate energy stored in your muscle glycogen. So when you need it, you can use those carbs for that final sprint to the finish line. So does this mean you don't want to do anaerobic exercise on a ketogenic diet? No, that's not what they're saying. We're watching our ketone levels to help understand how our body responds, because we're all bio-individuals, to various foods and our exercises. So you have to just experiment, especially what we'll do in my 30-day online challenge, is knowing how our body, or learning how our body responds to our food and exercise. And then we know how to make those micro adjustments with our fat, carb, protein. And I think it's also when we eat, how we eat, not only what you eat, but those other factors are really important. I teach you that in my program. I'm not trying to sell you on the program, I'm just trying to explain what I'm doing. So food choices that you will have as fuel for your body and maintain the optimal ketone level. So showing that 0.5 to 3.0. Now, everyone's different, depends on your goals. I'm speaking for endurance athletes and people doing longer distance exercise. They might want to experiment of how many carbs they can tolerate, but you don't need much because we're burning fat for fuel. So our sport, endurance athletes, is more fat burning. If you're not training, especially running, where you tend to probably run too high of heart rate if you're not doing the MAF, max aerobic function heart rate that Dr. Maffetone talked about 30 plus years ago. So we shouldn't need many carbohydrates. You don't need to carbo load when you're fat adapted. You don't need to reload after a long aerobic bike ride where you're burning mostly fat. You don't need to refuel with carbohydrates, because even if you're low carb and having healthy fats and lots of protein, you can still get glucose if needed from protein. So remember that word gluconeo means new, genesis, create. So make sugar from protein and fat if need to, so we can burn those proteins that we're eating for muscle glycogen. So I think there's lots of information to help us stay in ketosis. And why do you want to stay in ketosis? That's a big question in itself. So we'll talk to the founders of Keto Mojo in the future. But I think learning the benefits are really important, because that's probably more of the incentive to stay there. So the main incentive for me to do fasting, intermittent fasting, because that will for sure get you in ketosis. Very simple way: stop eating, drink water, have some coffee if you want it, but having the benefits to improve my health in the future. I'm talking performance in life and longevity. So if I can improve my brain function, if I can reduce oxidative stress on my cells, reduce the free radicals, because we are doing so much damage with this to our body with all of this exercise. So if you can start by fasting and doing a low carb, higher fat diet, you can help reduce inflammation on your body and reduce the impact of oxidative stress on your cells. So talk a little bit more about that as we go. So fasting is what we'll go into on my program. Intermittent fasting is, you can start with 12 hours and we work towards 16 hours. But really, people want to lose fat weight. They want to get stronger. They want to feel better, sleep better. A lot of times I think people eat too late at night. They eat the wrong foods. They cause blood sugar dysregulation. They wake up in the middle of the night wide awake because of their blood sugar, because of stress. There's a lot going on, but learning how to fast a minimum of 16 hours is what we work towards. And maybe some days we go a little longer. It's not as hard as you think. And you can learn in my program, or try it on your own, that you can build up easily to 16 hours with the right tools. So we can start with a bone broth fast and you really learn how you're addicted to habits of eating based on time of day. So you eat because it's lunchtime, you eat because it's evening time, you think you have to have breakfast because we we're taught all this growing up that we need to get our metabolism revved up, right? That's what I always thought. I had to eat breakfast. I wasn't hungry. It's 4:30 in the morning. I got to eat before I go work out. Wrong. I don't think it's true. And I feel great. I can go, because I've done this for a very long time now, I can eat at 3 o'clock and tomorrow I can go lift weights. I can go for an easy run with the client and an easy swim. Stay in aerobic is what I mean by easy. And still be not hungry. I have fat in my body to use for fuel. I'm fat adapted. But if you go by the old paradigm of eating 3 meals a day, snack, 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 your body is always eating. I figured this out on my own, as I've said many times. When I started teaching spin class and training for races or long distance cycling 20 years ago, I couldn't figure out why I was supposed to eat all this food when I had fat to burn. I was heavier. I had a weight to lose. And so this is why I think there's so many people that are fit, but they're over fat and unhealthy because they're eating based on things that they've read that are probably outdated, that we need to eat so many carbs and so many snacks and have your bagel and have your orange juice and banana and do that before you go work out because you're going to bonk if you don't. Well, you will if you're a carb burner. So if you teach your body to be fat burning all day long and train where you're burning your fat at high levels and you keep improving that fat burning range, I can train at higher heart rate to still burn higher percentage of fat before I have that crossover point where carbs are the main burner. So intermittent fasting is a great way to get your body to burn ketones for fuel. So I would suggest trying that. My 5-day fat loss program we're doing a week after Labor Day. And that is 5 days of just getting a jump start. So I call it phase 1 of the 30-day program. September, we're just doing the 5-day fat loss challenge where we're working on this 1 meal a day, bone broth fast, work on your liver and digestion, and start to wean yourself off of those habits of eating. I'm not going to do a lot of exercise that week because you might just need to go for a walk and some mobility and some yoga and just kind of chill, but keep moving. And then we'll just go on. In October, we'll start the 5-day fat loss again, October 1st, and then we'll go to phase 2, which is 21 days, sugar detox, taking out all those inflammatory foods. And then phase 3, we just transition. How do you do this ongoing? I do it every week. It's just kind of how my routine is. And then weekends, I'm not so strict. And I still try to keep on my food plan, but I don't have the intermittent fasting times, and I might have 2 meals a day. So that is what I think you should look at doing. There's lots of great information and videos from Keto Mojo that I'll share with you. But just know that it's easy to get started. And you can do this with some coaching. And I think, not worrying about counting calories, your macros, I think that's too much for me. If you grew up dieting all the time as myself, counting your macros is a headache. I think it's beneficial for you for the 30 days, so we learn how to do that. But their Keto Mojo is going to have a free macro calculator too. So we can put all this together. How many calories, protein, carbs, fat do you need to lose fat weight? Maybe you want to gain or maintain your weight, but we can set your goals in there and then work on testing your glucose as well as your ketones. That's why I like Keto Mojo, because you can do both. So we want to have our Keto Mojo testing our glucose and then work on testing our glucose in the morning fasted before you eat and about 2-3 hours after you eat, and the ketones as well. And just kind of, it's biohacking, figure out what you can do. So the macros are maybe 5% carbohydrates for some of you, going to 75% fat and 20% protein. People that are trying more keto carnivore are going a lot more higher protein and going lower than the 5% carbs. So they're going lower than the 20 grams suggested for some people. Some people need 50. Again, these are not endurance athletes that you might be. So experiment with Chronometer, MyFitnessPal, or Carb Manager. There's lots of options out there, but let's work on fasting first, I think. Work on changing what you're eating, when you're eating, and getting into that time-restricted feeding window. So if you stop eating earlier, 3 hours before bed, you stop eating, and then we work on not eating first thing in the morning and just wait to eat. Have some water, have some black coffee. Ideally get rid of that Keurig because it's high mold content. And get a French press. It's cheap. I grind my coffee each morning. I put it in the French press for 4 minutes, and then I pour it in to my mug and put a little heavy cream and some cinnamon, or if you're fasting, you're supposed to just have black coffee. I think a little splash to make my coffee taste good is okay for me, and I still can not eat all day and be energized. So try that out. I will put the link for the Keto Mojo special that we've got going on, and just teaching you the basics. Let's just get started now and teach you how to do your blood sugar testing in the morning, fasted, and then work on eating testing later on in the day. And you can test, about 1 hour before, and then 2 to 3 hours afterwards. So if you can do that, figure out when your meal is and try to do it before and after. So you can see your blood sugar back down after you ate. And so testing before and after meals will really tell you if you have any food sensitivities. This is another good trick I learned in nutritional therapy. So if your heart rate goes up higher, even if in a few minutes, you know that you're having a reaction to that food. So with blood sugar, you can test. There's tests you can do a particular food, and 60 minutes afterwards, test your blood sugar and your ketones, but more your blood sugar. And then 3 hours afterwards is a great way to find out how your body responds to that food. So there's additional tests you can do 30 minutes and 2 hours, but you can learn a lot by even putting the food on your tongue and go back and measure if your heart rate goes up. I think it was 6 beats or 7 beats. You know you're having a reaction to that food. So check it out. There's so much information out there. I'll put links in the show notes and then more on my website, my blog page. But I'd love for you to join this journey. If you want to be fat adapted, this is a good time of year, the fall season, to work on getting a little more higher protein and healthy fats and getting the benefits. Maybe you'll sleep better, get rid of some inflammation, some joint pain. You might have more energy because you get off that glucose and it's less stress on your cells, and you'll perform better. So check it out. If you are in Kona this October, look for my event, Bright Space event for the fat adapted low carb athlete. We are having a meetup. Hopefully at Bike Works in Garmin. They're having a pop-up shop in the old Bubba Gump's restaurant. They're taking over that space since the restaurant closed. And we are going to have a meetup, and we can have Paul Larson, the prof, talk about what is fat adapted, what is the process to be a fat burning athlete, and we'll talk to UCAN about how to use UCAN to still stay fat adapted in your training and racing. And then I'm going to talk about how stress, sleep, mobility, exercise, the elements holistic method impact your performance and longevity. So we'll talk about the training for the whole athlete. So if you have any questions, head over to my website, debbiepotts.net, if you want to sign up for my upcoming 30-day online coaching program. It is $597 for the 30 days, but I'm starting an online special to get it started for $297. So check that out starting September 1st. If you sign up the month before, you can get a big discount. So go to debbiepotts.net. You can reach me if you can't find what you're looking for, and I will get back to you. All right, guys, enjoy the weather. Get outside, get some fresh air, and get to bed early tonight and get a good night's sleep. Thanks for listening and training the whole athlete from the inside out with the WHOLESTIC Method.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.